Hello, everyone. This is Rogers Harrison welcoming you to another episode of the Sports Deep Dive Podcast. The podcast where we look at sports, but we take a subject and put a magnifying glass over it. Most of our stuff is about stuff that's happened in the past. For current events in sports, for polls, for conference realignment, there are other podcasts for that. I'm occasionally joined by Brian Kuparic, and as luck would have it, he is here today. Hello, Brian.
Hey, Rogers, how are you?
I'm doing well.
We're going to talk about my favorite topic.
Well, we are. Today we're going to talk about concessions in sports, and when I say concessions, I mean the hamburgers and hot dogs and the peanuts and popcorn and beer. Get your beer here. That's what I'm talking about when I say concessions. Not concessions as in, well, I admit defeat.
Right.
You know.
Not concessions as in the players' union makes concessions to the owners.
Yes.
Right.
I'm talking about.
I'm talking about the good concessions.
The beer here. All right. So, since baseball is the oldest professional sport here in the good old USA, that's where our story begins.
Awesome.
So in baseball's infancy, there was no organized concession stands. The only food available was the food that locals came to the game and tried to sell, right? And fans were naturally drawn to what they could eat with their hands. So you're not going to sell prime rib and mashed potatoes unless it's like one of those meat on a stick.
Right.
I mean,
right.
You know, because
that'd be hard to eat.
Yes. So yeah, things they eat with hands like sandwiches, ice cream. You know, you got it right.
Yep.
Now here's what I liked. Now, the old-time umpires, meaning the umpires in the late 19th century, were accorded the utmost courtesy by the players. And this comes from the Marion Star newspaper in Ohio. This is what they wrote in 1916. You ready? They were given easy chairs placed near the home plate, provided with fans on hot days, and their absolute comfort was utmost in the minds of players. The umpires always received the choicest sandwiches and the largest glass of beer.
Nice.
So you can imagine the umpire in a little, not an easy chair, but one of those, deck chairs type of thing, and got some sandwiches and a cooler and maybe a big cold glass beer. By the way, that's a strike.
By the way, give me my beer back.
Give me my beer back. And I just think that's funny because the players, wanted to keep the umpires happy.
Right. Nowadays.
So the umpires would call a favorable game.
Mm-hmm.
But now the players don't care about the umpires.
No, they don't.
It's just like, screw you. We don't care about you.
No. That has definitely shifted.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember, but back...
well, just to think about that, they were like eating and drinking during the game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And so by what?
You're like, time. I need to have a sip of my beer.
Or time, I need a pee.
Right.
I don't know if you remember, but before there was stands, they would put a rope behind the outfield where spectators would stand, in baseball's early days.
Yeah, before there was like fences and all that stuff.
Yeah,
because they were just playing in like a field all the time. So
and they didn't have stands, so they would just rope up a little section, kind of like how they do in golf.
Right.
On golf courses. So I got my sandwich and my beer, and somebody's knocked into me. Oh no, there goes my beer. All right. 1893 World's Fair, which was in Chicago. You ready?
Okay.
All right. people were all across the country had begun to fall in love with the Dachshund sausages. That looks like the dog.
Yeah.
Right? Now they were brought over by a German immigrants. Traditionally, they were served with a milk roll and sauerkraut. Now, milk rolls are soft, round rolls made with milk as opposed to water.
Right.
So they're soft. So they're not a traditional hot dog bun. It's more like a dinner roll type of thing, right? So the sausage couldn't fit in these rolls. So they had to be modified to the hot dog buns that we have today. But your question is, how do we go from it being known as the Dachshund sausages to hot dogs? You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go. So, on a cold day at the Polo Grounds in 1901, the Polo Grounds was the home of the New York Giants, now the San Francisco Giants. A New York Post cartoonist tried to capture vendors hawking a snack he'd never seen before. And which was the Dachshund sausages, right? But he couldn't spell Dachshund.
So he just put dog.
So he just depicted them shouting, "Get your hot dogs!" instead, right? In his little cartoon.
And then it stuck.
Now, Harry Stevens. I know I'm jumping around here, but let's talk about Harry Stevens.
Okay.
Harry Stevens immigrated from London to Ohio in the 1880s.
Okay.
Immediately fell in love with baseball. I mean, like us all. I mean, who doesn't?
What's not to love?
Yeah. He saw the demand for snacks at the ballpark.
Right.
And decided that all he needed was the business model, which basically one company that could provide a whole stadium's worth of food, making sure every fan got what they wanted. So Mr. Stevens was like, why get some sandwiches from this guy and a beer from this guy and, your hot dogs from this guy when I can create a business model that can provide all of it and get my money. So before long, he started Harry M. Stevens Incorporated. He was bringing hot dogs, he was bringing soda, peanuts to parks across the country, and that's how it was kind of born, right?
Okay.
Now let me get back to where I was. So we talked about hot dogs, and we know why they're there.
Right.
And we all talked about, ice cream and beer, and, because you can hold them.
Right.
But let's talk about another ballpark staple.
Peanuts or popcorn?
Close. German sausages weren't the only thing that became a hit at the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago. Frederick Ruckenham and his brother Louis ran a popcorn cart in Chicago.
Ooh.
And over the years, they tinkered with their recipe.
Okay. Chicago is known for their popcorn.
Chicago's known for their food.
Period. Right.
Yes.
But their popcorn is legit.
They've got special rules for their hot dogs. Do not mess with a Chicagoan when it comes to hot dogs.
Oh, right. It has to be the certain Chicago dog.
Well, it also, they will not allow ketchup on a hot
Right.
dog.
Yeah.
Ask any true Chicagoan.
Oh, I know. Mustard only.
And for those of you who are from Chicago, you can put your comments, and direct them to Brian about the proper way to dress a dog.
I like a Chicago dog. It's
okay.
Good. Yeah.
So I think you know where I'm going with this. I hope you do.
Yeah, I know where you're going.
All right. So they wanted to tinker with the recipe. These two brothers, eventually adding peanuts and molasses in an attempt to stand out from the competition.
Yeah.
Are you with me so far?
I'm with you.
Do you know what road I'm
following
going down?
you. Something about some crackers and jacks.
Yes, that's right. Their easily portable snack, dubbed Cracker Jack after a company salesman's reaction the first time he tried it, became a hit at the expo and soon spread across the country and its ballparks. So much that Jack Norworth, a 29-year-old vaudeville entertainment who had never been to a baseball game in his life, name-dropped it in a new song of his, "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
Buy me some peanuts and cracker jacks.
See?
Yeah, I know.
All right. See, this is, we got the origin of the hot dog here.
I
We got Cracker Jacks.
Yeah,
We got the umpires drinking beer.
like it. I think umpires will be better now if they drink more beer.
Well, I mean, with the robotic ump, they're calling balls and strikes.
True. I don't like that.
The umpires will be just in the bases, just swilling away.
It's not part of our topic. Maybe we should talk about this in a different podcast, but I think that would be I know we don't really talk about a lot of current events, but that would be a good thing to talk about in a retrospect of like how we all complain about our umpires and them not getting it right.
Mm-hmm.
But then now I'm totally against them doing the robotic thing because I want the human element. So there you go. You can't always get what you want.
Within a month of Jack Norworth writing that song, "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" had skyrocketed up to the charts. And Cracker Jack became synonymous with our national pastime, baseball. Boiled peanuts had been a staple dating back to the Civil War. Soldiers packed them as a cheap and tasty source of protein. And after the war ended, vendors responded to that newfound demand. So again, baseball's setting the stage as far as this concessions go.
Right.
All right. Now, there's probably one that is missing that you're thinking that you get at ball games. We've talked about hot dogs. We talked about beer. We talked about, ice cream and Cracker Jack. Is there one thing that missing?
Well, we haven't talked about soda at all.
Well, I mean,
I guess that would.
Well,
go along
Coca-Cola,
I'm trying to think of what cotton candy.
Okay.
I'm off track. I don't know.
All right, I'll
Clue me in.
I'll rescue you
Thank you.
because I see you're
Save me, Rogers.
I see you're struggling.
I'm drowning over here.
Oh my gosh! Can you imagine a concession stand without a tray of nachos?
Oh, not now.
Yeah,
that hasn't always been a thing.
Right. It's relatively new though.
Yeah.
Stadiums didn't start offering until 1976.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about the baseball team. It was a baseball team
That decided to offer nachos?
that did it, not a football or NBA or anything. Nachos have been popular in Texas for decades, right?
I was thinking it had to be a Texas team.
But they hadn't made the leap to sporting events for one simple reason. No one had found a way to produce them as quickly and cheaply as the ballpark required. Again, you need some hand food, right?
It's got to be quick.
But like I said, you got to hold it. And the little nacho trays you can hold, right? Frank Liberto,
Okay.
Liberto, found a way.
Came out with the nacho tray.
Liberto devised a cheese sauce. And according to the FDA, it can't be legally referred to as cheese.
Right, because there's
gotta-
no cheese in it.
I gotta do that disclaimer.
Cheese sauce.
The only required was a little added water and leftover juice from jalapenos. creating a gooey orange consistency that could easily dispense. Thank you, from a pump. The recipe was such a heavily guarded secret that in 1983, a 29-year-old man was arrested for trying to buy the trade secret. Can you imagine that? The cheese
espionage.
The cheese sauce recipe. It came in cans.
Yeah, big number 10 cans.
Didn't need to be refrigerated.
No, because it's shelf
and
life
enabled.
Is
yes, it can survive a nuclear. It's like a roach.
Exactly.
Survive a nuclear war.
It doesn't ever go bad because nobody really knows what it is.
It also enabled concession stands to give the customers within their order within a minute or two, right?
Right.
And before long, it had taken off. Lieber sold the Rangers on his big idea, and in its first season at Arlington Stadium, nachos brought in $800,000 in sales.
Wow.
For comparison, the previous high seller, popcorn, brought in $8,500.
Wow.
Right. The Dallas Cowboys, we're changing to sports here, of the NFL, caught on next, and after Howard Cosell hyped them up on Monday Night Football, it caught on everywhere. So Monday Night Football game, Cowboys are playing, Howard's going, eating his nachos in the press box and going, man, this is great stuff. Cowboys know how to do it. I don't know why I suddenly gave Howard Cosell a Texas accent, but I did. All right. Let's go on, and we're getting a little closer to the present day.
All right.
A study titled "The Food Environment of Youth Baseball," which was conducted in 2014, observed the food choices at a youth baseball field in North Carolina and found that 89% of food and beverage items were purchased from the concession stand, and 73% of all consumed foods were considered less than healthy options.
Oh, for sure.
In fact, according to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, this is a quote, studies show that while kids who play sports are more physically active than those who do not, they are just likely to be overweight. Because, between games, if they've got a baseball tournament or a doubleheader, they don't have time to go get something to eat because they got a next game in 15 minutes or whatever. So they're going to the concession stand and getting a hot dog and popcorn and a soda or whatever.
Yep.
I hope they're not drinking beer.
Never know.
So, like I said, youth participants consume more calories, drink more sugar beverages, eat more fast food than kids who don't play sports, right?
Oh, yeah. When I was a kid playing baseball, we used to go get these drinks called suicides. And what we would do is have whoever was behind the counter there take and fill up the cup with like half full of ice, and then hit every soda option on the fountain. And that was our favorite concession stand drink. Probably disgusting as an adult, but there you go.
Right. So, in this sports schedule, it goes beyond the ballpark because the sports schedule also leads to families to eat on the go at fast food. You're going through the drive-through on your way to the game, because the game starts in 10 minutes or whatever, or 30 minutes. And then, what do you do after the game is over?
Go out to eat.
The coach takes the team to the pizza place for pizza and ice cream, Hey, you guys didn't win, but, you gave a good effort. Here's some ice cream and pizza.
Right.
For you to have. So families, are thinking, hey, my kid's playing sports, he's active, he's healthy, or she's active, she's healthy. Right, yeah, but you're eating fast food junks at the ballpark or to and from.
Yeah.
Like I said, the ballpark. So that study was done, and I don't know. You've been involved in youth sports more since 2014. I don't think that the concession stands have changed.
No.
Do they offer fruit or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I know at the park I ran, we had some fruit options like bananas and apples and stuff like that for bigger tournaments and sometimes on Saturday mornings. But for the most part, we did try, we brought in salads at one point trying to have some healthier options, but they just don't sell as well.
Yeah.
Most people, the kids, they want some candy, or like you said, people are not looking for that kind of a meal a lot of times. They just want something quick that they can eat with their hand, and so it's like the chips and the hot dogs and the hamburgers. That's what sells. Now, we did have some like chicken sandwiches and stuff. There was some of that, but I don't know that that's that much more healthy. It's a breaded chicken sandwich that we'd put in an air fryer,
Yeah.
So yeah, not a lot of high carb, not great options.
Well, but your chicken sandwich, since it was prepared right then,
Right.
probably has less preservatives than a chicken sandwich from a fast food place. Or
Probably,
something.
right? Yeah, but still, like your concession stand options. Again, it comes down to economics, right? If you're trying to make stuff that you can make quickly, get out the door, and do it as cheaply as possible, so you can make as much as possible, and that doesn't equate to healthy food.
Yeah. Remember we talked about the umpires,
Right?
and they were getting free food back in the early days. Teams provide free food to the umpires and to the players and to the press. But the fan concessions are not free, as you know.
Wow, yeah.
In fact, they can be pretty pricey.
Right. I mean, like, for instance, when you and I go to a pro soccer game together.
Major League Soccer.
Right. We spend anywhere from, 30 to $35 a piece to get something close to a dinner. And it's usually those barbecue nachos or
Yes.
and a drink, and
Yes.
then and that's what you're spending $30 on, is
Right.
a little tray of nachos and a drink, and it's like,
Thanks, Texas Rangers.
Right.
Now here's why concession stands are probably pricey for the fans. It's limited competition.
Right. What else you gonna do?
Stadium owners have a captive audience. Few options for food and drink than what's offered inside. Right. Now there are some ballparks, baseball and other places that will have local eateries have a concession stand in in the ballpark, so it's not just all hamburgers and hot dogs. Like I believe Waffle House has a concession stand at Truist Park in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Mercedes-Benz Stadium, home of the Atlanta Falcons, and the Atlanta United has Chick-fil-A.
Well, and I was talking about the MLS stadium, and those concessions are all like, but they have different vendors that are providing those concessions within there. So we do have a variety. There's like pizza and.
But yeah, because some of those in that Major League Soccer stadium are local vendors. Yes.
Yeah. But like you said, it's captive audience.
Yeah. There's also the high operating costs. Concessions contribute significantly to the overall revenue of the stadium.
Right.
Helping to offset expenses like high player salaries and stadium upkeep. I do know that some stadiums will have volunteers, and that money will go to like a youth thing, like a high school football team. Or
I know that for sure. The Nashville Predators and the Nashville Titans both do that.
Yep.
Yep.
Supply chain and logistics is another reason. Managing food and beverage at a stadium involves logistics, including getting the ingredients, managing inventory, staffing concession stands. All of that can increase costs. When you're at the stadium, if you're a season ticket holder, another reason might be you want a premium experience. You don't want just a hamburger. I mean, you just don't want a hot dog and a soda, you want something else. You want some barbecue nachos. Or
Buffalo wings or whatever. Yeah.
So, but yeah. So that's looking at concessions in a nutshell.
Awesome.
Yep.
What a great topic. It was very. I like the discussion about hot dogs and the popcorn and kind of the roots of it. So that was great.
Yeah.
Good job, Rogers.
Well, thank you. I want to thank Major League Baseball for providing me with much of my research. I got a shout out to them. Don't want to have them get upset at me.
Exactly.
All right. For the Sports Deep Dive podcast, this is Rogers Harrison and Brian Koperick. Where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, I'm at Random Things with BK on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And randomthings@bk@gmail.com.
And I'm Rogers Harrison. I am at 318 North on Blue Sky. And also Instagram. You can find me there as well. This has been a Podbean production, and I'd like to remind you that this was brought to you commercial free. Until next time, so long, everyone.